January is going to be brutal, and the models are showing it with crystal clarity. Multiple major winter storms, Arctic blasts that last for days, and a pattern that sets up the coldest January in years. But here's what's happening first. The next 2 weeks are going to be a roller coaster. Warm air surges, cold fronts crash through, severe weather in December, snow in some places while others set heat records. In the next 2 minutes, I'm going to show you why this back-and-forth pattern is more dangerous than steady cold. At the 5-minute mark, you'll learn about the storm systems lining up along the temperature boundary. And at the 8-minute mark, I'll reveal what the models are showing for January that has meteorologists concerned. But first, let me show you what's different about this pattern compared to the first half of December. The first 15 days of December were entertaining. Consistent cold, snow every few days for many areas, a pattern that was stable, even if it was cold. But now, everything changes. We're moving into a very back-and-forth pattern. Multiple major storms along the boundary between warmth and cold air. It's gonna be interesting, but not in a good way. As James chapter 1 verse 17 tells us, every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. But weather changes constantly, especially in the pattern we're entering. The European model's overnight run shows the first interesting weather happens around Tuesday the 16th, Wednesday the 17th, warmer air building into the east. We haven't dealt with that over the last 2 weeks at all. We haven't seen it at any point, until now. The northern jet stream is way up there. A lot of activity traveling along that boundary between cold and warm. We even have a clipper system over the southern Hudson Bay. Typically, this brings a cold front that brings colder air into the east. We get a cold blast for the northeast corner of the nation between the 17th and 18th, even some snowfall, perhaps a bit of showers. But then comes the next benchmark. Another very intense but brief warm-up into the eastern states. But we could see a strong low over the Great Lakes developing. This has a very strong cold front with it, and a very intense air mass of Arctic air trying to fill in behind that cold front. Watch this play out. We see a leading edge of potentially thunderstorms and heavier showers. We're monitoring the severe weather risk for these areas as we get closer. We'll need to talk about that more at a later date. We see that arise for the eastern seaboard, and a pretty intense Arctic air mass around the 19th and 20th. A lot of snowfall happens over the Great Lakes. Lake effect snow. That's usually a testament to how cold that air is moving in. Don't miss what I'm about to show you at the 8-minute mark about January, because the pattern shift after Christmas is significant. We see another clipper system, but this one is really well to the north compared to what we've been dealing with. They've been diving southward into the eastern states. We're not seeing anything like that here. We get cooler air again for the 22nd and 23rd, before we warm back up for the 24th and 25th. I know that's a bummer for a lot of you hoping for a white Christmas. Then we get this transient pattern, a lot of activity moving pretty flatly from west to east. Although you can see we have a miniature ridge over the west and a miniature trough in the east. It's rather zonal with the flow. Overall, snowfall happening in the northeast corner of the nation, a little lighter. This is very far out, so take it with a grain of salt. But maybe a chance at some systems after Christmas is something to watch for. Let me ask you a critical question. What happens when warm and cold air masses keep colliding every few days? The answer: storms. Big storms. And along the temperature boundary, those storms can be intense. This European model run is the warmest we've seen from this model overall over the last few days, but the GFS, much different. The GFS appears a lot colder with more snowfall opportunities. First, we get to that major storm. It moves into the east. We get a bit more chance at high elevation snowfall moving in. Pretty brief, but could amount to something. Then we see more cold air in the east, just hanging out through the 20th, 22nd, and 23rd. We even get a little system trying to move through and bring some mid-Atlantic snowfall. Obviously a threat to watch in that time frame. This is within 10 days. Pretty well within 10 days. Definitely something to pay attention to. We do overall see these warmer times. We get a snow system developing around the 26th, similar time frame to the European model. And we see some northeastern snowfall as well as southeastern Canada as colder air makes its way in after Christmas on this GFS model run. All of this is really just stuff to watch for over the coming weeks. Precipitation is really elevated, especially over the northwest, decent in the east, almost nothing over the plains. Looking at the anomalies, pretty well below average along the deeper south and Gulf states and southeastern states, pretty well above average in the northwest. It's worth noting this is a classic La Niña look, textbook, above average in the northwest, below average in the deep south. As Psalm 104 verse 19 says, "He made the moon to mark the seasons, and the sun knows when to go down." God set the patterns, the seasons, the cycles. Even La Niña patterns serve his purpose. It's worth noting, we expected La Niña to calm down and move more toward neutral ENSO and even El Niño direction as we move through December, January, February. We expect to move further and further away from La Niña conditions, so it's going to be interesting to watch how that progresses. No surprise here on the European model, almost no snowfall unless you're in the very far northern, central, or eastern areas. Almost no snowfall south of that area on this run. The GFS starts to flirt with some snowfall working its way into more of the Midwest, Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic. Something to watch. The European model is a little bit of an outlier. This is the warmest run it's shown in days, so something to monitor. Here's our current Arctic blast. It's hard to even think about warmer temperatures right now. We see another one move in for the 19th and 20th, even a bit of one for the northern states by the 22nd. But we get warm-ups in between, and we really move into a warm pattern for the 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, somewhere in there. This has been pushed further and further back. We'll see what ends up happening. The GFS model shows Arctic blast number 1, number 2, number 3. Then we warm up, but colder air is able to make its way into the Great Lakes and Northeast. It's a little different. We see a cool down for the 27th and 28th. Even looks like another one might be on the way after that time frame. A little more optimistic on this GFS model as opposed to the European model, but all of it's worth noting at this point. Now let me show you something from the National Weather Service's climate model. This is their longer range outlook, and it's important. The CFS daily model shows 10-day anomalies. From the 16th to the 26th, it's mildly cold in the mid-Atlantic and northeast. Most of that happens over the next couple days. After that, a bit warmer, but when we look at the 26th through January 5th, it's already starting to cool back down again. And certainly by the time we're looking at January 5th through the 15th, cold. Very cold. I wanted to reiterate and hammer home this point. These models do not see this as a forever thing. Not a very long-term pattern. They see cold all the way through the end of January. I doubt we'll see January 1st to January 29th be cold entirely the whole way through, but definitely a sign that the majority of that month will be colder in the east with opportunities for snowfall. This is what I've been telling you. The warm-up we're seeing is brief, 5 to 10 days maybe of an overall milder pattern than we were dealing with. But there are opportunities for cold and snow mixed in occasionally. It's not a full-on torch pattern, at least for now. As Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 11 reminds us, "He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end." We can't see the full picture. We can only see what the models show. But God sees it all. And even in this volatile pattern, there's purpose. Here's what you need to understand about the next 4 weeks. This week, back and forth begins. Warmth builds Tuesday and Wednesday. Cold front Thursday brings intense Arctic air. Brief warm-up Friday and Saturday. Another cold shot next week. Christmas week, trending warm for most areas, above average temperatures. White Christmas looking less likely unless you're in the northeast or higher elevations. Week after Christmas, patterns start shifting. Models show cooling trend beginning. Not dramatic yet, but the transition begins. January, brutal. Multiple Arctic blasts, sustained cold for the eastern half of the country. Snow opportunities increase significantly. This is when winter really arrives. Let me break down what this means practically. The back and forth pattern is more dangerous than steady cold. Why? Because infrastructure doesn't adapt well to rapid changes. Pipes freeze when it's cold, then burst when it warms and refreezes. Roads deteriorate with freeze-thaw cycles. Power systems stress with temperature swings. And people struggle too. Cold weather gear one day, light jacket the next, back to winter coat the day after. It's exhausting. The storms along the temperature boundary are where the real action happens. Warm air pushing north, cold air crashing south. They meet, they clash, and intense weather results. Severe weather in December. Thunderstorms when there should be snow. Heavy snow on the cold side while the warm side sees rain. These boundary storms can intensify rapidly. A minor system in the morning becomes a major storm by evening. For Christmas, the warmth is disappointing for snow lovers, but it's brief. Don't let it discourage you. Every single winter, even the coldest winters, have these warmer spells. It's just part of how it works. It's not going to stay cold from December 1st till the end of February. Although I know some of you would want that. Some people love snow and cold 24/7. If they could have it all year, they would. But the pattern after Christmas? That's when things get interesting. January looks brutal for the East. The models are consistent on this. Cold, sustained cold, not just brief blasts. Opportunities for major snowstorms increase. The pattern sets up favorably. Cold air in place, moisture available, storm track right where we need it. Here's what you need to do over the next month. This week, prepare for rapid changes. Warm Tuesday and Wednesday, cold Thursday and Friday. Back and forth continues, have layers ready. Check heating systems work properly. Next week, monitor for that storm system around the 20th. Mid-Atlantic could see snow. It's within 10 days, close enough to start paying attention. Christmas week, enjoy the warmth if you're not getting the white Christmas you hoped for. Spend time with family. Don't stress about weather. It's temporary. Week after Christmas, start preparing for January. Stock up on winter supplies, road salt, snow shovels, emergency kits. The pattern shifts here. January, buckle up. This is when winter really shows its teeth. Multiple Arctic blasts expected, snow opportunities increase, East stays cold most of the month. Monitor forecasts daily. This volatile pattern means conditions change rapidly. What looks safe 3 days out might be dangerous 2 days out. If you have travel plans, especially around the holidays, build in flexibility. Weather is going to be active, delays likely, cancellations possible. For the storms along the warm-cold boundary, those are the ones to watch most carefully. They can produce everything: heavy snow, ice, rain, severe weather. All in the same system. Check on elderly neighbors. The temperature swings are particularly hard on older folks. Make sure they have heat. Make sure someone is watching out for them. Share this information. Not everyone understands how volatile this pattern is. Help spread awareness. As Philippians chapter 4, verse 6 through 7 tell us, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. We can prepare without anxiety. We can stay informed without fear. We can trust that through every pattern shift, through every storm, through every temperature swing, God is in control. In tomorrow's forecast, I'm going to dive deeper into that storm system around the 20th. The models are starting to show more details. I'll break down the timing, the areas at risk, what to expect, and I'll have more on the January outlook as new model data comes in. The pattern ahead is volatile. Back and forth. Warm then cold, cold then warm. Storms along the boundaries. But January? January looks brutal in the best way possible if you love winter. Cold. Snow opportunities. The kind of pattern that produces memorable winters. We just have to get through this transition period first. The next 2 weeks of volatility. Then January arrives. And winter really begins. Stay safe, stay informed, and trust that through all of it, God's got this. Until tomorrow.